Okay, so now I'm gonna fix all the dents on the side. I sanded that. There was 2 dents there. This is all sanded with 120 right there, there. Right there. This is where the holes were for the emblem. Right there. So I'll pause for now and put some filler in there. Okay, so we're getting this car ready for primer. And what I did is I marked all the dents on the car. And I covered them with glaze, like sanded. Covered them with glaze. I did the big repairs first. The rust repairs first. So now we got to sand all these spots. Everywhere I seen a dent, I did the dents. But there's a bunch of these chips like that. Some of them I'm gonna feather edge out. There's quite a few. They're all over the car. I'm gonna sand these ones on the front. I'll probably try to feather edge most of these out, but some of them I'm gonna fill with glaze. So I got these ones I'll sand out. But when I start a car, I usually do the dents first, because once the car gets sanded or dusty, it's hard to find the dents. So I always find the dents, cover the dents with putty, and get the dents sanded. And then I'll go on to all the chips, and then I'll sand the whole car, probably with 320. I'm gonna prime most of this car, I think, because there's so many chips. Plus, there's just these lines I got to get rid of here. So most of the car is going to get sanded with 320. And then I'll probably go over any spots that I'm not going to prime with 500. But that's what we're doing right now. So I'm going to get ready to start sanding. I'll show you how I sand all these spots. Okay, so I'm sanding it with 120. When I sand this, I'm going to leave it a little bit high, and I'll finish it with a block. Okay, so this is 120 on here. Now, usually I would go over this with 220 afterwards, but I'm going to sand the whole car with 320. So I'm just going to buzz over this with the 320 when I sand the car. So 120 is fine to finish right now. So I'm going to do that to all the spots. and then we'll move on to the chips. Okay, now I've got all these spots sanded all the way around the car. Basically all the body work's done unless I find more dents as I'm going. So now it's just a matter of sanding the car completely and getting rid of all these stone chips. I'm going to start on this front, on the hood. I'm going to sand this front edge. I'm probably going to sand most of these here. And then the rest, the smaller ones, I'm going to fill with glaze, with dolphin glaze. So I'll show you how I do that. But right now I'm going to sand this with 120 on the dual action sander. Okay, so that's what I want to do to the whole front of the car. And then I'll show you the next step. Okay, so I've got this all sanded. So that's one way to fix stone chips, is to sand them right down to metal and feather edge it out. Or the other way to do it, or the other way I do it, is I'll leave them, I'll make sure they're scuffed. So I'll use dolphin glaze. I'll blow this out. I'll use this stuff here and just lightly cover them. So I'll get this ready and show you how to apply it. Okay, so I got some on the board here. You don't need very much when you're doing stone chips. Now this is the fast way to do stone chips, and sometimes it's the better way to do stone chips. Like if this car had 3 paint jobs on it and the paint was 6 layers thick, when you sand these out here, you'd end up having to put putty over it anyways because of how deep it is. This car's only been, or this fender's only been painted once, the original. It's got the one primer and the paint and the clear coat. See the primer here, base coat here, clear coat here. So this car's okay to sand them right down to metal. But if this car had been painted 3 or 4 times, or even 2 times, this starts to get really deep, and you're gonna have to cover it with putty anyways, even if you sand it down. So lots of times this is the fast way. Just put a light coat over these, and then buzz over it with 320 or 220, and that will make the chip disappear. You should prime over these spots too after you do them. But this is the fast way to do it. This way uses more sandpaper. And it, like I said, it's not always the better way to do it. So now I'm going to do the rest of the chips like this. And then I'll show you the sanding process. Okay, so this fender here has been painted 2 times. And I can feel how deep this is. If you can feel it, you'll probably see it if you don't fix it. So this is going to have to get glazed. And it would have been quicker just to glaze the chips. But I can just feel that. Or I could feather edge it further back, but it would take more time. So a lot of times it's better to leave the material on, fill the chip, and then you have more material protecting the car by the time you're done. So it's not always better to strip it down to metal. But it was good that this fender, you can see it's got primer, base coat, clear coat, and then primer, base coat, clear coat. So you can see that it's been painted twice. Okay, so now I've got finishing putty on here. I'm going to sand it with 120. But the end result now is, if I would have just filled these two chips with glaze, it would have took less time and less material. So this was a case where it would have been better just to fill the two chips. Now I'm going to hand sand this because I can't get in this edge with my orbital. And you see I left a little edge here of paper so I could get in there. Trying to get rid of that spot there. Okay, so now that's ready. There's kind of a chip here. I'll sand that out with the orbital. Maybe a little bit of a chip there. Okay. Okay. So now I don't feel that. So when I prime it, it will disappear. Now I'm going to move on to the spots I glazed the stone chips. Okay, for these spots right here, I've put a 220 paper on here. And anything you plan to prime, 220 is a good finishing grit, or 320. 220 will tear these down quicker than 320. So it looks like, let's see, this chip down here. It looks like that chip's still there, but it's filled and I can't feel it. So if you can't feel it when you prime it, you're not going to see it. Okay, so that looks like it's still up here. Looks like it's still there, but it's gone. You won't see it. So I'm going to do that to the rest. I got a bunch to do up here on the hood. I'll do the rest, and then we'll move on to the next step, which will probably be the bottom of the fender. It has a bunch of chips, so I'm going to sand it right down to bare metal. And there's some chips on the door. So I'm going to sand the fender, the hood, the other fender, this driver's door, and show you what it looks like. Okay, so the door is all done. You can see all these chips. They're all filled with glaze. The fender. That's what it should look like when you're done. So down here now, on the bottom of the fender, I would sand that right down because there's so many of them. Plus, there's at the bottom of a car, there's a good chance there's rust like that. So it's a good idea to sand that right away in case there's some surface rust. So that's what I'm going to do now. And then once all these chips are taken care of, the rest of the car, I just have to sand it and then get it ready to prime. So yeah, like this, the process of doing the body work and the stone chips takes the most time. And sanding the whole car won't take long at all. So this is the major portion of the work, is getting the body work done. These ones I'm gonna sand out here. Those ones I'll probably fill. These ones on the edge, on an edge like that, I usually sand them out. So those ones I'll sand out. But we're almost done with the stone chips. But that's how you, these ones haven't been filled yet on the back quarter. But you guys should have the idea of how to fix stone chips now, if you're interested.